And you spoke about Dazed and Confused there, and the only reason you got that part is because you're out and about and you weren't, say in that night studying, you were out at a bar when you met Don. So
Right? Oh gosh,
tell
I'm
that
so glad I
story.
wasn't at the library.
Exactly. Tell that story of running into Don, and this is how everything, got propelled into action.
Yeah, and look, we all, when we look back at our lives from this moment on, the dots connect. But it's all a mystery going forward. And so I'm going to start this story where this was very mysterious how things add up. And it's very fun to look back and see how the dots connect. I decided to go out to the top of the Hyatt one night with my girlfriend. And the reason I'm going to the top of the Hyatt is because I know the bartender. He's in film school with me and he'll give me a free drink. That's why we go there. We get there. He brings me a vodka and tonic, brings my girlfriend a vodka and tonic. And he says, hey, let me introduce you to this guy down there in the bar. He's been hanging out in the bar each night. He's in town producing a film. He takes me down and introduces me to him. His man name is Don Phillips. Well, cut to 4 hours later, me and Don Phillips are getting along great. Many vodka and tonics later. And he's on top of a table telling a story about a dog leg left on a 17th fairway and on a TPC course that he played that I got to play. So we're visualizing the shot and going through, and all of a sudden we're getting quite loud. We get kicked out of the bar. I'm now gonna go back home, and I'm in a taxi cab, and he wants to ride with me to go drop me off. We ride, or on the ride home, he's like, hey, Matthew, you ever done any acting? And I was like, hey, I was in a Miller Lite commercial for this long. I did this Trish Yearwood video, blah, 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 not much. He said, well, you might be right for this part. You know what? Come to this address tomorrow morning, which by this time it was like 6 hours from now. One of the nights I was not going to get 9.5 hours sleep. Come and pick up this script. It'll be waiting for you. It's a guy named David Wooderson. You might be just right for it. Well, I go pick up this script. It's marked. It's got 3 scenes that this character Wooderson's in. His character Wooderson's a guy, he's 21, he's out of high school, he's still hanging around high school, trying to pick up the high school chicks. It's funny. He's a funny character, and he has this one line in there, which I've now termed as a launchpad line, and tried to find launchpad lines throughout my career in characters. But the one line was he's sitting out front of the billiards joint. High school girl walks by, he checks her out, and his buddy says, you better cut that out, Wooderson. You're going to end up in jail, man. And Wooderson says, nah, man. That's what I like about those high school girls, man. I get older, they stay the same age. Well, I read that line and just started howling with laughter, going, who is that? What person? I go, what if that person's not saying that for as a joke or to be cool? Or as a timely little one-off. What if that is that person's ethos? What if that person is like, I have found my place in the world, and it's to hang around? And I was like, what if that person thinks that's their constitution? They got it figured out. So all of a sudden, I start to see the character Wooderson is not oh man, I'm so sorry for that guy. I started to see this guy in his own life, he's a hero. He's got it figured out. It's the salad days for him. Well, that line turned me on to who the guy was. And I immediately, in my imagination, went to back when I was 11 years old. And my mom and I went to go pick up my brother, Pat, who was my hero at high school because his card broke down and we needed to pick him up in this one certain spot and he was not there. So we're driving around the campus in this station wagon. I'm in the back, looking out the back window, looking for my brother, Pat. My mom's going, where is he? He's not here. And I see this figure about 60, 70, 80 yards away in the shadows of an overhang on the side of the school, leaning against a brick wall, silhouetted by the back sun, smoking a cigarette with one leg kicked up and a knee out. And I was like, wow, who is that? And as I say that, I go, it's Pat. It was an iconic image. He looked 9 feet tall, a Marlboro Man, whatever. And as I said, this Pat, and my mom went, what? I went, oh, nothing. Because I immediately knew, he'll get in trouble if mom sees him smoking a cigarette. So I didn't say anything. So we kept driving. Well, that image, I was like, that's Wooderson. So all of a sudden, my imagination goes to writing the book on Wooderson. Based off of that line, and that image of my brother that I saw. So I get invited to work one night, not to work, but my first night, I'm there to do a makeup, wardrobe, hair test, which is where you step in a trailer, they go through the makeup, the the hair and the wardrobe. The director, Richard Linklater, steps off a set, comes over, looks you up and down, gives you some notes, and then you go home and you come back later after all that's been approved and work another day. Well, on this particular night, I step out. Linklater comes over, looks me up and down, and says, "Okay, I like this. I like this." I'm like, "Okay, cool, man. I'll see you next week." He's like, "Oh, hang on a second." He goes, "You think Wooderson would be interested in the redheaded intellectual girl?" I'm like, "Oh yeah, man. Wooderson likes all kinds of girls." He's like, "Well, Marissa Ribisi's playing that role, and she's over here at this place called the Top Notch Drive-Thru. She's got her kind of nerdy friends in the back seat, and it's the last day of school. Maybe you want to try and shoot a scene where you pull up and try and pick her up." And I'm like, "Sure." Well, next thing I know, I've got a lavalier mic being hooked up to me. I'm sitting in my car about to do this scene. Marissa Ribisi's over there in the car with the nerdy friends, and on action, I'm just told, I don't know, I'm just pull up and go pick her up. Well, I'm starting to get a little anxious about like, okay, well, who's my man? Who's Wooderson? What is Wooderson about is what I'm going through in my mind. We know that line, that launchpad line. We know that image of my brother. And to myself, I say to myself, okay, Wooderson is about my car. And I'm like, well, you're in your 70s Chevelle right now. There's one. I said, I'm about rock and roll. I said, well, we got Ted Nugent's Stranglehold in the 8-track. We're rocking to that. There's two. I said, Wooderson's back getting high. I'm like, well, Slater, the stoner of the schools, riding shotgun, he's always got a doobie rolled up. There's three. And then I hear, action! And I look up at Cynthia, played by Marissa Ribisi, the redheaded intellectual that I'm supposed to go pull up and try and pick up in the scene. And I say to myself, as I put it in drive, and Wooderson's about picking up chicks, pull out slowly, and on the way I tell myself, well, you got 3 out of 4, Wooderson. Going to get the 4th. All right, all right, all right. Those were the 3 affirmations that I was verbally giving myself that I had going to get the 4th. So I was batting 750 out of 1,000. And that's the first 3 words I ever said on camera. And it's off screen if you watch the movie. It's the introduction of the character, but it's off screen. And somehow that stuck and is still around in the vernacular. However, that was 92, however many, 29 years later. And that's where that came from. And so I work that night, improvise a scene that works. Rick invites me back the next night. I work for 3 weeks. All of a sudden, I'm written into the script as a central character. And loved it, and was leaving every day. I was getting paid SAG, $320 a day. People are patting me on the back going, you're really good at this. I'm going, this is so much fun. Is this legal? Yes. Would you like to come back tomorrow? Yes, I would. Had as the summer of my life. And did not know at the time if I was starting what would be just a hobby, but I had a hunch that I'd found what it is I wanted to do. And it turned into be much more than a hobby, as you know. It turned into be a career 29 years later.
I love that story.
I had that vodka and tonic.
Thank you for going so deep into that. I love that story. And when it comes to the all right, did you pre-think that at all? Like, did you know when they said action that was going to come out of your mouth, or was it
No.
totally spontaneous?
Totally spontaneous. It was the 3 affirmations of what I did have, and it was me gearing up. It was like a trigger for myself and my character, and it just kind of came out. And I did, obviously Wooderson's the kind of guy who wouldn't go okay, or yes. He was a legato guy. All right. He's legato, not staccato. Also, I had been listening to a Doors live album where Jim Morrison barks at the crowd, all right, 4 times. I didn't think about that line for Wooderson, but it's no coincidence that was in my head now. And I remember even when I was saying the line, Wooderson wouldn't bark those 3 lines. Morrison barked them. Wooderson would throw them out like lagniappe and more butter and syrup on my pancakes, please. You know what I mean? And they came out. It was not planned. Had no plan. There was nothing scripted. There was nothing. It was just me giving myself, you Wooderson have three things that you're about. And the four things you're about, you're going to get the fourth. Wow. Life's peaches, man. Where else would you rather be? I'm in the honey hole. It's the salad days. It was because that's who Wooderson was in my mind. He was that guy who's like, no, I got this all figured out. And so that's where the three all rights came from, and why I said them like they did. And Wooderson had that little head kick back on the shoulders way about him, which is my brother in that smoking section that day when I was 11.
That's amazing.